So today we're going to look at Excel and V&H Lookups Part 2. If you have not watched the Part 1 version, make sure you tune into that. There should be a link here in the bottom of the page that you can get to the first one. And that one we talked about what a V&H lookup really was. We really broke it down, and we talked about how to use it when you were doing exact matches. Today we're going to look at V&H lookups and how to use them when you're using a range of information. So before we jump in, let's do a quick review on what we talked about in the first video, just on kind of what the layout and the syntax is of doing a lookup. So again, when we're doing a lookup, because it's a formula or function, you always tell Excel that you're doing a function by starting with equals, and then you type lookup. And then open your paren. Now, we're going to only do a VLOOKUP today, but again, if you want to know the difference between V and H, you can get more details in our Part 1 video. But basically, VLOOKUP looks at information vertically, and H looks at stuff horizontally, and that's the only difference. So what we do is we start with VLOOKUP. The first criteria it wants is the lookup value. Now, the lookup value basically means what cell has the information that you want me to look up in this lookup. Okay, so that's a simple thing. Then we type a comma to go to the next criteria, and then it wants to know the table array. So it wants to know basically where is the table of information that you would like me to look this little component up in. Okay, next, then we're going to talk about the column index number. And what it means by that is out of all of the columns that I've selected in my table, which column has the information you want me to spit back up? Lastly, it wants to know the range, meaning does this lookup, or is this number I'm looking for, is there a range of information that it falls within, or is it an exact match? In this case, it is a range, so we would always use true. So that's kind of how it will work for us as far as our syntax. So let's dive in now and actually work on it. So when we use lookups for ranges, they're usually really helpful or most beneficial when you are doing something as far as a discount schedule or a penalty schedule. So for example, maybe you do invoices for clients, and if they don't pay you on time, depending on how long they're overdue, you apply a penalty. So if they're 30 days overdue, you might give them a 5% penalty. If they're 60 days, it might be a 10% penalty. So you'll have that schedule of basically penalties. In this case, we're going to do a schedule of discounts. So we have here bulk orders that different parties will order in our hot dog company here, our fictitious company. And if they order things that are, more than starting at 20%, they get 5% off. All the way up to 100 or more items get 20% off. So that is our discount schedule over here. So we're going to start our lookup here in cell D6, because what we wanted to do is we want to look up what's in this cell, compare it over here to the table, and then give me the percentage discount based on the number that they've ordered. So in cell D6, I'm going to type equals VLOOKUP, and you can either finish typing it or double click on it if you see the pop-up. And then it wants a little lookup value. In other words, which cell has the information that I'm going to look up in my table? And it's going to be cell C6. So I'll click on that. Then I type a comma to go to the next criteria. Now it wants to know the table array. Where is the table of information that I need to look this up in? I'm going to select over here cells G6 through H9. I don't need to select these headers up here because they're pointless within our formula. We don't need them. Now I'm going to type a comma. Because I did a VLOOKUP, it automatically knows to ask for the column index number, meaning out of all the columns I selected, which one has the information you want to spit back out. Now, it would be great if I could just say column H. It doesn't work that way. I have to count them out of all the columns I selected. So I have 1 and now I have 2. So the second column is the one that I have that will have the information spit back out. So I'm going to now type a 2. And then I'm going to type a comma. Now it wants to know, is this an approximate match, meaning a range, or is it an exact match? It is an approximate match. So I can either select that or I can type true. You'll notice this is kind of in parentheses, meaning that actually the default is true. So if you type nothing, it would just do true and assume it's a range. But in this case, we're just going to type true. It's easier for me to not always have to remember. I just type true or false depending on what I need it. Now I close my paren to finish this, and then I'm going to press enter. All right, you should have 0% here because that indicates that, hey, we haven't hit that 20 units threshold to get the 5% off, so it's a 0% discount. Now, I can take this formula and copy it all the way down. If I do, though, I seem to have some issues. So basically, what's happened is, I now have this NA mark. Well, don't worry. I'll show you how we fix that and what happened. So if we look here at our first formula, it is C6, and then our table is G6 through H9. So the nice thing is Excel tries to be helpful. So if I come down here to this formula, it says, great, you move down 2 rows, so you probably want to reference G8, and we're going to move your table reference down, not what we wanted. We actually want the table selection to stay fixed. So all I have to do is edit this formula in the original formula. So I'll go back up here, and I want to make these a static cell reference, meaning that when I copy this down, those are not going to update. Even this one can update, but not my table reference. So the way you do that is you can type $signs before and after each of your table cell references here. Or a quicker way to do that is you can click in between them and press F4 on your keyboard. That will also do it for you. Now when I press enter, if I come back up here, grab it, and now copy it down, it should all work just perfectly. So for example, this person ordered over 100 items, they got a 20% discount. So that's how you can do a V or H lookup when you're using an actual range. Again, if you want to look at how to use V&H lookups, especially when you're doing an exact match and how the difference in more detail between V&H lookup, make sure you check out the part 1 video.